The Silchester Stone, Episode 1. The planning. They planned to build a railway beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Not an ordinary railway, but a sealed magnetic line connecting central London to Manhattan. Its trains floating without wheels through a low-pressure tunnel. The crossing would take 4 to 5 hours. At the Atlantic Link Project headquarters in Westminster, Dr. Elizabeth Okafor, known as Liz, stood beside a model of the railway. The launch shaft would be built inside Christchurch Gardens, publicly named the Green Ark. A heritage officer reminded her the ground was historic. Liz promised full archaeological supervision and restoration once the terminal was complete. Sir Malcolm Reeve, the project's principal backer, asked why she had chosen the name. She answered, "A protected garden above a machine that carries people beneath the sea." The team screened their advertisement. A silent shuttle gliding between Victoria, the Green Ark, and Westminster. Then a silver train rising above its guideway and vanishing beneath the ocean. London at breakfast. New York in 4 to 5 hours. When the film ended, the room stayed quiet. The banks wanted guarantees. The government wanted shared risk. The public wanted a miracle. Liz looked at Reeve. "Then give them one." One by one, the backers signed. Reeve announced the funding was complete, and route approval granted. The Green Ark site would open in 6 weeks. At last, the Atlantic Link was going to happen. Episode 2. The drilling. 6 weeks later, Christchurch Gardens had become a sealed engineering compound, traffic moving normally outside its acoustic walls, while cranes lowered a vast tunnel-boring machine into the ground. Its name was painted across the cutting shield, Persephone. The machine cut west beneath the city for 8 months. Liz buried herself in geological reports. Sam Atwell cataloged samples, and Dev Patel watched instrument readings through the night. A major lender briefly withdrew, halting all work for 72 hours before Reeve secured emergency credit, and the cutting head turned again. 70 kilometers from the Green Ark, Dev noticed the vibration change pitch. "That is not chalk," he said. The torque graph surged red. Sam ordered the pressure reduced. Dev already had. Then a violent metallic crack tore through the machine, every alarm firing at once, and the cutting head stopped dead. In the wreckage of the cutters, a single work light found something perfectly smooth reflecting the beam. Liz ordered the cutting face shut down and asked their exact position. 71.6 kilometers from Green Ark, Dev said. She asked what lay directly above them. Sam checked the map, his expression changing. "Silchester," he said. "Not the Roman site itself, but the ground just beside it." The work light trembled across the impossible black surface. Episode 3. The Silchester Stone. Sam and Dev climbed into the ruined cutting face. Between the shattered tools stood a smooth black surface with no grain, no fracture. Unlike any rock Sam had ever seen, a diamond-tipped drill was tested against it. The tool strained, the surface held, and the diamond itself came away damaged. A temporary lab was built around the find. Ultrasound vanished into the material without a return. Lasers found no trace of abrasion. The material was vitreous, though it was not glass, harder than anything their instruments could measure. Reeve gave the obvious order. If it could not be cut, go around it. But a full survey showed the black surface running at least 1,800 meters in both directions, with neither a top nor a base found. Tunneling beneath it, above it, or around it would each cost years, if an edge existed at all. Archaeologist Professor Maya Singh was brought in. Needing a working name, she recorded it as the Silchester Stone. For 2 months, it resisted every test, while confidentiality agreements multiplied and news helicopters circled overhead. Then, late one night, Maya compared hundreds of precision scans and told the others to stop calling it a wall. "A door," she said, pointing to a nearly invisible circular seam. A sealed circle almost 12 meters across. After tens of thousands of years, somebody had found the entrance. Episode 4. The Black Archive. Around the circle's center, faint marks formed a sequence. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Maya recognized them at once. Prime numbers. A language that needed no words. One recess remained empty. Liz inserted a marker for 13. Something released deep inside the stone. Ancient counterweights turned, and the Great Seal withdrew into darkness. Inside, in sealed suits, the team found a chamber built from the same black material. Its walls covered in writing, geometric proofs, star maps, and full-length images of 4 distinct human peoples. At its center stood a long sealed object, shaped like an altar. Maya ordered everything recorded before anyone touched it. 4 independent laboratories dated the chamber to more than 40,000 years old, older than any known city, state, or written language. The project's artificial general intelligence, the AGI, began translating the walls, finding a deliberate teaching sequence: mathematics, then astronomy. Instructional for whom? Liz asked. For the finder, it answered. The message teaches its own language. As translation progressed, the symbols resolved into a map of ancient coastlines, including land now lost beneath the sea, with matching markers across every continent. This was not one site, but a single node in the record of a lost global civilization. Maya named the chamber the Silchester Black Archive. Episode 5. The Lost World. The archive's walls reconstructed a forgotten world. Coastal cities, magnetic transport, observatories, surgical theaters, technologies the team could not identify. Connected populations on every continent had shared science, trade, and philosophy for tens of thousands of years before the world's written record began. When the archive's age reached the public, skeptics dismissed it outright. No cities, no machines, no surviving evidence. The AGI responded that an absence of surviving evidence is not evidence of absence, and displayed humanity's full timeline, in which written history occupies only its final thin sliver. Wood decays, metal corrodes, oceans swallow coastlines. Around the world, forgotten museum fragments began matching diagrams from the archive. The archive recorded 4 belief systems held by the peoples of that world, 3 ancient faiths tied to identifiable populations, and a 4th that arrived far later and erased its own origin entirely. That 4th system, the doctrine of the final form, taught that creation had produced several incomplete human forms before reaching one final, perfect one, called the completed. Its scripture discouraged friendship between peoples and condemned mixed families as corruption. On joining, converts surrendered their birth identity permanently, which is why, even now, the archive cannot say which of the 4 peoples originally founded it. It was also recorded as the fastest-growing faith in that vanished world. Episode 6. The 4 peoples and their beliefs. The archive's portraits and records identify 4 distinct contemporaneous human populations, each physically adapted to a different environment, each with its own belief system. The people of the Winter Hearth were powerfully built and cold-adapted, skilled in shelter building and stonework. Their faith, recorded as the living earth, held that all peoples were part of one family bound to the land itself. Kinship extended not only between humans but to territory, seasons, and the animals they depended on. Their rights centered on the hearth as a shared, unbreakable bond. The people of the high valleys lived at altitude, crossing mountain passes and reading the sky from thin-air observatories. Their faith, the first light, held that intelligence was woven into natural law itself, that the movement of stars, the structure of numbers, and the order of the physical world were expressions of a single underlying mind. Study and observation were treated as acts of devotion. The people of the island waters were small-bodied, highly mobile navigators who read currents, reefs, and stars to cross open ocean. Their faith, the returning stars, taught that civilizations rise and fall in long cycles, the way tides advance and retreat, that no age, however great, is final, and every ending contains the seed of a beginning. The people of the open roads ran the trade networks and messenger routes that connected distant cities and carried ideas between the other 3 peoples. The archive records no distinct faith for them under that name, a gap later shown to be significant. Records from this period show intermarriage and open trade among all four peoples, alongside genuine differences in belief that coexisted without conflict for tens of thousands of years. Episode 7. The Rise of the Doctrine. The archive's record of the doctrine of the final form documents a consistent pattern by which it moved from minority movement to dominant power across roughly 1 century. In its first phase, the doctrine spread through markets and public teaching, presenting itself not as one faith among several, but as the final, corrected version of belief, framing the older faiths as errors of an unfinished age. Compromise was treated as weakness. In its second phase, social separation was normalized. Refusal of trade and service to the three named peoples, discouragement of shared education, and public pressure against mixed marriages, reframed as protecting purity rather than as exclusion. In its third phase, that separation was written into law. A recorded statute, the Species Integrity Act, invalidated marriages between the completed and the three named peoples, and barred members of those peoples from office, teaching, and designated districts. Physical boundaries, described publicly as temporary, were constructed around remaining population centers. The archive's own analysis, generated by the AGI, from the surviving record, summarizes the mechanism directly. Friendship was redefined as disloyalty, intermarriage as contamination, separation as protection, and eventually violence as legitimate defense. Each stage relied on the one before it, and each was presented as a moderate response to the stage prior. By the end of this century, the three named peoples had no legal standing left in any doctrine-controlled territory. Episode 8. The Erasure. Within a further century, the crown of the doctrine stood over every recorded university, court, and hospital in doctrine-controlled territory. The older faiths, the living earth, the first light, and the returning stars were suppressed or absorbed, and surviving schoolbooks were rewritten to remove the four peoples from the historical record entirely. The archive documents a network of enclosed camps established across every controlled region, organized around registration, labor classification, and eventual transport. Individual identity was replaced with a numeric designation. The AGI's analysis describes the administrative sequence plainly. Registration became relocation. Relocation became detention, publicly renamed protection. Detention became systematic killing. Rationing records show deliberate undersupply, calibrated to reduce population through starvation and disease, rather than direct violence alone. A method the archive's analysis describes as reclassifying survival itself as an inefficiency to be corrected. Medical records from the camps show routine denial of care based on ancestry alone. Final transport records, recovered from multiple sites independently, converge on the same outcome: the systematic killing of the winter hearth, the high valleys, and the island waters as distinct populations, continuing until each people had, according to the archive's own tally, ceased to exist. Separate financial and logistical records show at least one large-scale, well-resourced resistance effort during this period. Funding escape routes, bribing officials, documenting conditions, and organizing armed extraction attempts. Each method is recorded as succeeding briefly before being shut down. Seized transport, replaced guards, discredited evidence, criminalized rescuers. The record does not name this effort's organizer. It records only its result. When the last of the three named people's population reached zero, the archive's summary is a single word: extinguished. Episode 9. The Doctrine's Collapse. With no external population left to persecute, the archive's record shows the doctrine turning inward. Purity testing was extended to its own membership. Rival factions denounced one another as insufficiently completed. Temples were burned by former allies. The system that had organized the destruction of three peoples began, by its own logic, to destroy itself. During this period, the archive records the construction of a biological facility unconnected to any known government, its purpose undocumented until its final activation log. That log records a single decision, addressed to no one. The deliberate targeting of a lineage traced back to the very population from which the doctrine itself had originally emerged. A population the doctrine's own converts had erased from their identity generations earlier. The stated rationale, preserved in the log, is short: that a people who could not share the world with others should not be permitted to keep possession of it alone. The weapon was built and released with the explicit aim of leaving no survivors of that lineage, so that its ideology could not be rebuilt and inherited again. The archive gives no name for who built it. It gives only the outcome that follows. Episode 10. It Was Us. The final record shows the biological weapon and the doctrine's own internal collapse tearing through its territories together. The two events too intertwined in the surviving data to separate. Beneath the chamber later found by the drilling team, an autonomous beacon had been built to broadcast prime numbers and astronomical constants through solid rock, intended to signal any future intelligence toward the archive. Expected by its builder after 1, 2, or perhaps 3 million years, with no members of his own kind left to find it first. A power converter failure, recorded in the archive's own systems, meant the beacon never activated. In the present day, Liz, Maya, and Sam stood over the same dead circuit as the AGI reconstructed it. The archive had not signaled anyone. It had been found by accident, tens of thousands of years early, by a tunnel-boring machine named Persephone. Elsewhere in the record, small mixed ancestry groups are shown surviving in remote valleys and coastlines, carrying no memory of what had preceded them. Modern humanity, the AGI, confirmed, descends from these survivors, though the archive cannot determine which of the 4 ancestral peoples contributed most. At the chamber's center, the long-sealed object was opened and found to contain 2 preserved human bodies. Genetic analysis of the first returned a fully archaic profile, with no modern ancestry. A member of the people the archive recorded as the Winter Hearth, the Neanderthal population exterminated under the doctrine. Genetic analysis of the second body returned a different result: Homo sapiens. Specifically, an ancestry matching the people of the open roads, the one population for which the archive had recorded no named faith of its own, and the population whose descendants had built, spread, and enforced the doctrine of the final form. The archive's closing translated line appearing on the chamber wall as the analysis concluded reads, "You were not the 4th victim. You were the 4th people." Beneath it, a final line, translated from an older source embedded in the same text. "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and there is no new thing under the sun." The Silchester Stone. It was us. The 4 peoples. Then and now a people of the Winter Hearth. Neanderthals powerfully built, cold-adapted humans. They disappeared around 40,000 years ago. Climate, small populations, interbreeding and competition may all have contributed. By people of the high valleys, Denisovans mountain-adapted humans who survived at high altitude. Evidence places some populations as late as roughly 45,000 years ago. Their exact fate is unknown, although their DNA survives in people today. People of the island waters, Homo floresiensis, small-bodied island humans who somehow crossed the sea. Their known record ends around 50,000 years ago. Why they disappeared remains uncertain. A people of the open roads, Homo sapiens, travelers, traders and messengers, connected across enormous distances. They survived. They are us. It is striking that the last traces of several human groups cluster between roughly 50,000 and 40,000 years ago, during the expansion of Homo sapiens. The idea that Homo sapiens deliberately destroyed them is the speculation at the heart of this story. It is fiction, not established history.